There is a seemingly innate idea shared by conservatives that there was a golden age, typified by the MAGA movement. The implication being that if we could just turn the clock back, our problems would evaporate. There is some credibility to this position, but it is a dangerous one to take seriously. Let's assume the 40s and 50s were a desirable time to live in. But it was not so for everyone. No time period ever was a good time for everyone. Are the present years so terrible if one is of the elite? Conversely, is any age in which one is marginalized a good time to live? That being said, let's assume it was better in the past. This could mean only that in previous years we had hope in the future. The future does not look as rosy anymore. Is this all the golden age was? Is the yearning for a past golden age just a way of saying we have lost hope? If one cannot look to the future for hope, look to the past. But would we wish to go back to the 40s or 50s? Is there nothing about the past that would make it worse than remaining in the present? Because the myth of the golden age appears unable to reconcile itself with one fact. The past led to the present situation. There had to have been something wrong in the past, that it got us to this present. Perhaps the myth of the golden age is the hope we had. Perhaps the apathy of the present is due to us realizing the hope was misplaced. But is this loss of hope necessary or operational? Because if our failure is tied to past choices, we could always start to make different choices. But if we are talking about a golden age, as we look back through history, there is nothing that stands out. War and crime and disease were with us from the beginning. Some sources of evil were defeated, but new ones have emerged. Even now war is once more being waged in Europe. If we are unable to stop war in 2023, what can the modern world claim to have achieved? The point we are making here is that there is no age or time to go back to. More soberingly, there is no future we can look forward to. Not in this system of things. The danger is not that we might be led to seek a solution in the past, but that we might think the problem is humanity. We did not create the system we are in, though we imagine we have. We implemented, but it was formed as a rejection of Eden. In a sense, it was formed before man came to be. The epicenter of the problem is found in the Garden of Eden during the fall of man. Man did not devise his own fall. The elements that originated in this place spread throughout the earth, through the centuries, and have never been resolved. We have no right to the things of God, yet we have laid claim to them. This irrefutable truth holds the key to understanding our situation. In Eden we were given access to everything but one tree. We are not the authors of or the standard of right and wrong. We are not the judge or arbiter of good and evil. But this is what the rebellion was all about. When we left Eden, we entered a new reality. The term used to refer to this new framework is Babylon, but the modern term is liberalism. But liberalism is a universally applicable term for the last 6,000 years. Conservatism and other political ideas, though often offered as a comparison, are variations and modifications. All political ideas and philosophies share the traits and fundamental elements of Babylon to some degree. To leave Babylon and its modern equivalent, liberalism, we must re-establish Eden. It's an either/or situation. We are in one of the other. Apart from Eden, everything else is liberalism, which is said, is the modern equivalent of Babylon. The updated term for the system available to us in Eden is a priorian. A priorian is a direct refutation of liberalism. A priorian is not Eden, it is Eden updated to account for modern technology and the cultures we are in. This does not alter the fact that we cannot go back. There is no Eden and no golden age to go back to. Eden is better thought of as a conceptual ideal. Eden is a model of living we can aspire to. Eden in this sense is ontological more than historic. Eden draws us forward. It does not call us back. It is important to make the line between Eden and Babylon as clear as possible. Babylon has no line or divisions. The devil is always willing to negotiate. Babylon is inclusive, and all are welcome. The worst that can happen is the satanic option will be rejected. But that means there is no negotiated settlement. Satan risks nothing trying to make a deal as he tried with Jesus. If the discussion leads to a give and take and an agreement, the devil wins. Anything more than an outright rejection is a win for Satan. In Eden there is clear and distinct line between good and evil. But this is not a physical line. The line is analytical and logical and moral. In Babylon the line is obscured. That is the difference between the two realms. We cannot believe in universal rights and free load. We cannot take what was created by others and claim equality is a universal principle. To expropriate wealth from others means there is inequality and intersectional scoring. If liberalism exists, division exists. There is no benefit to stealing less or reducing our level of parasitism if we live in a system that justifies these activities. The thief who steals less is still a thief. Going back to a golden age that differs only in the degree of harm it does, only starts the process of corruption all over again. No one has a right to exploit or oppress anyone else. If there was a golden age, this was all it ever was. The golden age harks back to a time when we appeared to own what we created, and we were not burdened with costs created by others. People were more concerned about their duties in the past. There were no protected groups. There was no expectation that society would step in and help out when people failed to fulfill their duties. We felt in charge because we were largely in charge. We were treated as authors of our destiny. We controlled what happened to us because we were left in control of what we authored and created, good and bad. But we cannot go back to those times if for no other reason than those times led to the present time. It is the present time we are attempting to avoid. We need to stop modifying the impacts of this system and reclaim our rights as authors. We built this system. We are its authors. We have a right to modify it, change it, or replace it as we choose. To be human does not make us the judge of what is good or evil. We own only what we create, or author, and we have rights only over our own creations. Christians have been given special dispensation regarding personal possessions, but we have no right to the assets of the earth. There is no path to the ownership of what we did not create. Humans must use the land to grow food and the earth to mine for resources. We need raw materials to build civilization. People believe we must own what we improve or not obtain the full benefit of their labor. But we own and have a right to nothing else but our labor. We need to be concerned about getting paid for what we do. That is all. A person who invents a new drug wants to be paid a benefit off of every pill purchased. We are authors, not owners. This issue of being paid for what we do but not exploiting others because of what we have done, has always posed a problem for us. To obtain the value created when we farm seems to require the farmer own the farm. Before a person mines or invests in a factory, he or she wants title to the assets. But in truth all we have as authors, is our labor. Much of what we say we have done, was done by others. We think if we pay our employees for their labor, we now own what they improved. But all they did was provide labor. All the employer does is pay them to work. That does not give the employer more rights to the capital improved than the worker had. Capitalists think they have special rights to their capital. The state thinks they have absolute rights to the political jurisdiction they control. But private and public owners have no more rights than anyone else. We have a right to what we create and no right to anything created by others. We especially have no right to anything created by God. We need a new path, one that permits each author to have absolute control over his creative labor but no path to use his or her authorship as a means by which he or she can exploit or suppress others. We cannot be good unless we author a line between good and evil. We may not have lived a golden age, but in our minds and consciousness we are aware of living in the suburbs of proximity of it. Our ancestors lived aware of a division between good and evil that was not subjective. Yet, we cannot go back to those naive days when we thought people were naturally good and would do the right thing if given the chance. Our forebears knew there was sin in the world, but they assumed people were fighting against it. They thought there was a chance that with God's help we could defeat it. We cannot go back to this time when we thought in terms like, we the people, and human rights, because there is no generalized thing called the people. There is good and evil. This is not some nebulous term referring to a set of precepts. Good and evil are races of people. We do not hate the sin but love the sinner because they are one and the same thing. God does not condemn sins, he condemns souls. Our goodness ends where our freeloading begins. The world was not our creation. We have no rights over it or to it. We have what we author, and if what we create is to have value, it must be done in love. We are to do works of faith, these are not exploitive. Works done in faith do not freeload. We must pay our way and not be a burden on others. We must focus on giving, not on getting. But the crucial first step is in realizing there are freeloaders in this world. We are not all one people. We cannot go back to a time when we saw everyone as part of the same race. Some are wolves in sheep's clothing. It is up to the faithful to draw the line and protect it. The devil may pretend to be our friend and may extend the hand of friendship. The cost of being compatible with the devil is too great. It is no long enough to know some exchanges are not worth the cost. We have to move up to the point where we understand some people are not worth the cost. Some relationships are not worth the cost. We cannot go back to treating each exchange on its own merit. We need to move forward to a point where we realize freeloaders are not worth the cost of rehabilitation. It is time to cut them loose.